And if you know art, you know that name Picasso, right? Prolific over the course of his career, created some of the most iconic modern art pieces in the world. And with us today, I am so excited, Jared Thompson and Ali Katarsi from the Longmont Museum to tell us all about this incredible Picasso exhibit before May 25th. You have to go. And we were just talking, I took my kids. It is stunning. It truly is a work of art, what you've done. Jared, as the curator of this exhibit, tell me how you brought it to life.
Well, a lot of people don't know that Picasso did a lot of print, was a printmaker and made original artwork through printmaking processes. So we wanted to kind of tell the public about that. It was one of the mediums he would use to really do a lot of experimentation. So a lot of Picasso exhibits, you see a finished painting. This is showing more artist proof, so you're actually seeing his process. He's experimenting, he's trying new ideas, so it's kind of like a peek into his brain, wow. Look behind the scenes.
Well, and truly, because when you're walking through the exhibit, it kind of tells a little story about his life, things that you may not have picked up if you went to art school or if you're just reading about him on an internet search. Kind of walk me through what people are going to see.
So it's a really extensive exhibit. It covers 5 decades of his life. So it's from the 20s all the way through the 70s. He was a really prolific artist. As your little trivia said, 50,000 pieces. It's right. Amazing. So he was always creating. We're covering 3 different printmaking methods that he used. We also have casework showing you all the tools used to do those printmaking processes. So we really want to teach people, how these artworks were made. Ali is going to talk a little bit more about that in a bit. But it shows kind of the breadth of his work, through the decades of his life and different influences he had, how his work changed over time.
Oh, and it did change over time. You can see that progression in that very exhibit. Yeah. When you enter the exhibit, there's that huge wall. And I think I made my kids pose for 100 pictures in front of that because it's just like that huge painting on it. It's beautiful. It's so well done. Ali, let's talk about printmaking because you really are an expert when it comes to that. So walk us through how he created this art through the printmaking.
Yeah, so printmaking is different than what I think most people think of when it comes to prints, like a digital print. These are actually fine art processes that date back to the 9th and 10th century, and they require quite a bit of technical expertise. So when Picasso was making these pieces, he was actually working one-on-one with professional printmakers in France. And the relationship between himself and his printmaker is really what created this space for experimentation. And the exhibit shows intaglio prints and lithography and lino cuts, and they span from Germany to China in origin. So it's really a great show that really showcases this art form that a lot of people probably don't know a lot about.
Well, and Jared, you've probably studied Picasso over and over again, but as you were putting together this exhibit inside the Longmont Museum, what else did you learn? What did it reveal more about this artist, right? I mean, you're always discovering a new nugget here and there.
Just how varied his different styles were, from simple line work to really more complex compositions. He was incredibly prolific into his 90s. So he was 91, he was still doing series of over 300 prints, not just one print here or there, but 300 different prints. So the printmakers would actually go into his studio and he would be pulling prints every single day in his 90s. So worked all the way up until the end.
Tireless, amazing work.
Yep.
We were talking in the commercial break about how my kids loved the Longmont Museum, but they love this exhibit. My 8-year-old was learning about Picasso and art, so he saw Picasso and he naturally just ran inside. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, if you ask me, and I don't know much about art, but I see it through my kids' eyes, and to be able to introduce them to this world of art, and Picasso no less. Ali, tell us why it's so important now to go in there and experience this.
Yeah, so I think this show in particular shows a really new perspective on Picasso as an artist. Because it's prints, there are multiples of the work, and you can really get a really good behind-the-scenes look at his artistic process that you might not be able to get by just looking at a completed painting. And I think that a lot of people will connect with that kind of start and stop process of printmaking and him making edits between the pieces, and you can really see these changes and decisions that he was making as he was creating the work. And I think that that is a really great learning opportunity for anyone who is maybe interested in Picasso or interested in printmaking and wants to learn more about either of those things.
So Jared, as you're bringing these exhibits to the Longmont Museum, as a curator, what do you look for? You know, and it must be so difficult to actually bring in big names like Picasso and Monet.
We do a lot of visitor surveys, so we ask our community what they want to see. Picasso was very popular, but yeah, we want to bring world-class art into Longmont, just to expose our community to it. We're also really big about making the language accessible, talking about the art so people can understand it, so you don't need a master's degree in art to understand what we're talking about. It's really important to us to make art accessible, and it was great you brought your son. It's great to expose kids to to art at an early age. It'll make them appreciate it throughout their life, and we're trying to make early museum goers early on so they become lifelong learners.
I think anyone from my 8-year-old son to somebody who is older and who is more influenced by art, I mean, everyone can appreciate an artist like Picasso, and thank you for bringing this to our incredible state so that we can all benefit from this amazing exhibit. Thank you guys so much for coming in today.
Yeah, thanks for having us on.
So nice to meet you. Oh, you have to go and explore. This exhibit was incredible. I had the time of my life. You got to see Picasso. It's called The Graphic Journey. It's a Longmont Museum. The exhibit extended through May 25th, so there is still time. For tickets and information, go to longmontmuseum.org.